Ghislaine Maxwell apparently thinks that she's freaking Alice in Wonderland, and I mean that pretty literally. So there's this former employee of the prison where she's currently incarcerated. I call it a prison. It's a resort that you like kind of can't leave technically. That's what it is. Anyway, the former employee spoke to CNN about the massive, unprecedented, and I would hope illegal efforts that staff are taking to make sure that she is just so comfortable at this place. Is Noella Turnage, who shared emails from Maxwell that boasted how much better it is than the last prison that held her. You know, the prison she was in before she apparently secretly cut some sort of deal with the Department of Justice. So she said the food is legions better. The place is clean, the staff is responsive and polite. I feel like I have dropped through Alice in Wonderland's looking glass. I am much, much happier here. And more importantly, safe. Yes, I think everyone deserves to be safe. Every woman should feel safe. She should never be preyed on by people like Ghislaine Maxwell. Anyway, here's a little bit of video of the former employee of the prison.
What I can tell you is that the things that were being done for her were not common for any of the other inmates, not even the other high-profile inmates.
And what were some of the things that stood out to you from the emails, exchanges that you read?
Well, the two main things for me were the visit that was arranged for her, because what wasn't very highly publicized about that was the lengths they went to provide a private visit for Maxwell actually caused visitation to be shut down for the rest of the inmates that weekend. They were not able to see their families that Saturday to make way for Maxwell to see her visitors. There was also the warden's personal handling of her mail, which may not sound like a big deal to some people, but the other inmates in that prison, Aaron, they have a hard time getting out their regular mail, much less anything needed for court filings and things such as that.
Yeah, they shut down the entire prison so that she can have incredibly private visits. She has personal access to the warden, personal perks. Everybody is so polite to her, and why shouldn't they be? I mean, sure, set aside that she's a notorious and unrepentant sexual predator, but she was also really rich for a long time and she partied with really fancy people. I think she should have a better life in prison than we have out of it. Anyway, here is more of the weird communications Maxwell apparently had with the warden.
Other emails that you shared with us, Maxwell is talking to her lawyer and she says things like, Noella, the warden proposes August 18th for your visit. So she brings the warden up in that context. In another, she tells her lawyer, I checked with the warden and she would rather that I send all the updates through her. So she keeps referencing the warden as if she's having conversations with the warden and they are directly communicating about things. How unusual is that?
That is highly unusual, Aaron. Pretty much the only time you see the warden talk to inmates there is they can approach her at what we call mainline, which is kind of when they're on their way back and forth from the chow hall. Other than that, they, for the most part, do not have direct access to the warden, and certainly not at their convenience.
Certainly shouldn't. And why would the warden have this cushy personal relationship with one of the most notorious and horrendous people in American history? I am not asking a rhetorical question. I think we should get to the bottom of this, and I think it's super weird that so few people are trying. What do you think?
Yeah, he's definitely gonna partner. I mean, like, he's definitely gonna do it. They got this. I mean, it's unbelievable. Ghislaine Maxwell, the things that she's guilty of, it's not like a spectrum that like anybody might find themselves doing. Like she didn't grow up poor, so she's not like committing crimes of poverty. Like, this was a lifestyle choice that she made, and it was very sophisticated. This is what she did for a living, basically. She ain't never needed for no money. And just, I mean, how much dirt does she have on who? I mean, they got to be protecting people who haven't been put on blast or something, because it's not like she's gonna like physically harm anybody in that prison. But also, I think this just goes to show how deep her and Epstein and people like that are intertwined with governments all over the world. They're intertwined with some of the most powerful people who are alive today. Otherwise, she just wouldn't be getting this kind of treatment. She, these people know her as like, oh, this princess goddess who fell from grace, but she fell on hard times. We're gonna cut her some slack. Like, she's friends with these people. People loved Jeffrey Epstein, or at least liked him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have dealt with him the way that they did. So this is a huge indictment on just the leadership period in this country.
Yeah, and look, I'm glad that Noella came out and provided this information. It takes that sort of new set of information to get it back into the news cycle. We should be talking about Ghislaine Maxwell. We should be talking about Jeffrey Epstein. We should be talking about how there's still no justice for the survivors. There's a lot of terrible things going on, but we got to remember that this is one of the biggest crimes that was committed basically out in plain sight, is being covered up in plain sight, and we should not rest until there's justice.